Hello, it's Christine here with Christine Rose Photography, and I have been getting questions lately about tripods. So I brought my friends out and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about tripods. First up, my philosophy on tripods is spend as much as you can. In fact, if you can push your budget a little bit, skip Starbucks maybe for the month, a tripod is going to last you a very long time. So you want to invest as much as you're able to. This is one of the places where I recommend that you do not skimp, because if you are able to put the money in and to get the best tripod that you can possibly afford, it is going to last you for a very, very long time. This tripod here I've had for 6 years. This one is 8 years, that one back there is 2 years, and I have another one that I've actually had for 13 years that's up in my car. It actually always stays in my car. So tripods are an area, especially when you're doing night photography, so Milky Way photography, nightscape photography, exceptionally important. You don't want your camera to move. If your camera moves in your shots, everything that you've done, all of your planning, all of your hard work, absolutely everything, throw it out the window. It's no good anymore. So you need a tripod that's going to keep your camera safe and sturdy. So let's dive in. In this video, you're going to learn about what you need to know to get the right tripod for you. First thing is first, there are two different types of tripods. There are all-in-one tripods, and this is everything comes all together. It does not come apart. It is a one-stop shop. I generally don't recommend those, as A, you are unable to change out the tripod head that's on later if you need something different for what you're shooting, and B, they're not as sturdy. So I don't recommend starting with those, because though they are cheaper, they are not going to do a good job for you in the long haul, and probably are going to be more frustrating than actually help. Then we have what I have here, which are tripod legs and heads. So these are separate. All of these are interchangeable with each other. I can take this tripod head off and put it onto this tripod, take this one off and put it onto this tripod. They are all interchangeable and they are sold separately for the most part, though you can get bundles. If you hear anything in this video, hear this. You can have two of the following three things, but you cannot have all three. When it comes to tripods, there is sturdy, light, and cheap. Pick two. That's what you get to have. So sturdy and light, amazing. That's going to be carbon fiber legs, absolutely wonderful. Not cheap. Not cheap at all. So if you are going to get something that is very sturdy and weight is an issue, let's say you do a lot of backpacking or you do a lot of traveling, carbon fiber legs are going to be absolutely amazing for that. The budget runs quite a bit higher. Then we get into sturdy and cheap. Well, sturdy and cheap is great because you're not spending as much money and you're making sure that your camera is not going to move. So we're getting into things like aluminum legs. Sturdy and cheap is going to be heavy. So you are not going to get something that is sturdy for your camera and is cheap at the same time and have it be light. You're not going to get it unless someone gifts you a pair of carbon fiber legs, in which case it would be sturdy, cheap, and light, but that does not often happen. So sturdy and cheap is going to be heavy. Either of those, choose which one works for you. I have both. I have carbon fiber legs and I have aluminum legs. I have both of them. They both work fantastic. Which ones do I take when I'm traveling? I take carbon fiber legs. But otherwise, I take both of them out and use whichever one works depending on the situation. Now the last combination is light and cheap. I do not recommend light and cheap. I do not have light and cheap to show you because it's not sturdy. So if you get something that is light and cheap and feels flimsy, it's not going to hold your camera still. If you're just doing like a 15th of a second waterfall shot, 1/8 of a second, 1/4 second, that's fine. Use a light and cheap tripod. But if you are serious about wanting to take Milky Way photographs, nightscape photographs, do not go that route. It's just going to give you more frustration. And what is worse than getting out on a night shoot, spending this time, so you get up in the middle of the night, you drive a couple hours to a dark location, you're out all night long, you're wondering if there's something in the woods that's going to eat you, you're getting the shots, you're focusing, you're doing it all, and then you come home and you're like, they're all blurry because there's camera shake in every single one. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. You don't want that to be a part of your life. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty now of actually purchasing a tripod. So we're going to be looking specifically at tripod legs and heads, so separately. I'm going to really highly recommend that you go and you buy these separate. Don't get an all-in-one, okay? First up, for our tripod legs, so you can either get aluminum or carbon fiber. Aluminum way more, but they cost less money. Carbon fiber way less, but they cost less money. Cost more money. Sorry. So with your tripod legs, sections. How many sections do your tripod legs have? I only do 3 sections, so there's going to be 2 knobs on them. That's it. You can get 4 sections and more, and they're going to go down into this really nice, compact, lovely, travelable sections. It's just small, and it's flimsy. So the more sections that you have, every time that you are getting another section, they all have to nestle into each other. So because of that, once you get down to that smallest, that last section is small. The tripod leg is small. If you actually fully extend that and you try and move your tripod around, like mine, I'm trying right now to move it around. This has a little bit of give, a little bit, but no, not really. You will actually be able to move it because the legs themselves will be so flimsy. Often these tripods are marketed as like a travel tripod because they fold up a lot smaller. They can get into things like backpacks or suitcases, etc. This is not my first choice. If you travel a lot, you might want to think about having 2 tripods. I would not recommend getting a travel tripod or a tripod that has 4+ sections because they are going to be a lot less sturdy, and we want sturdy. In terms of the legs themselves, so I have Manfrotto here. This is the 190 leg. This is the 55 and the 55 leg. The 190 is a little bit less sturdy than the 55, but for most of what I'm doing, it's perfect. For my tracker back here, I'm always using my 055 legs, my 55 legs for the tracker because the tracker is big and heavy, and I've got the Williams High Optics high latitude base on it. It's just heavy. It's a beast. So I use the bigger legs for that. But do I want to take those legs while I'm out hiking? No, they're heavy. They're heavy and they're big. So you're going to go with less sections. You're going to choose carbon fiber or aluminum depending on your budget, and then look at the gear that you have. Do you have super heavy gear? Then you're going to need more heavy duty legs. Do you have light gear? Like this is the Nikon D5600. I could go way lighter than what I have here and still be able to shoot with this and keep it sturdy. Then the next part, after you figured out your tripod legs, is you have to think about the tripod heads. Now, there are different types of tripod heads. There's a lot of different types, but I'm just going to go into a couple of them. The first is a ball head, and a ball head lets you move in any direction. So it's literally, this is a ball here, and it just lets you move around. Now there are things like tension that you can get that will make it so it doesn't go quite so flimsy as I had it here. It also will, there's a knob here, and it lets it move on this axis. My preference for night photography is ball heads because they have the ability to go, turn this, let's try it working sideways. They have the ability to go backwards 90 degrees. That's something that's very useful when you are looking up and taking photographs of things that are up high. So it's useful to be able to get that range of motion, and it's quite a bit easier to do it on a ball head. What I don't like about ball heads is that they just move willy-nilly. So once you undo this, there's no just the x-axis or just the y-axis. You're going to be moving everywhere, basically. So for doing precision movements, it's a lot more difficult to do it on a ball head. The other thing with the ball head, here you'll see this is a fairly small ball head. Back here, I have a fairly heavy duty ball head. I have a 300mm lens on there with a 2x teleconverter. That is a much heavier setup than this is here. So when you are looking at your tripod heads, you very specifically want to look at the payload that they can take, and then take your heaviest gear that you own, add it all up, so the camera, the lens, add it up, how much does it weigh, and then buy a tripod head that will take that weight and a little bit more. So ball heads, I have smaller ones, and specifically I have the smaller one actually to use on a lighter weight tracker that I have, so it's less weight, and then I have bigger ones that are a lot more stable. Now a subset of the ball heads are pistol grips. And so a pistol grip is similar to a ball head because it is actually a ball head in here, but it has a grip here that lets you move it around. Now, I actually don't really use pistol grips. I find that they are not as sturdy as a ball head. This was my mother's tripod, so it was easier for her to use, and she was not doing night photography. So now I've inherited this after she passed away. So it's a good example for me to show it to you, and I'll use it if I'm just doing quick and easy stuff out around the house. It's easy to use. It's easy for my husband to figure out, but I don't use it when I'm going out shooting at night. And then we have three-way heads, or pan and tilt heads. And so this guy didn't get put on a tripod. This was always my favorite type of ball head, tripod head, because you have three guys, and each of them controls a specific axis. So I have this, and I'm not quite level. Okay, I just need to turn this a little bit, and it has degree markings here, which is nice. Here, I need to go a little bit up or a little bit down. I can control that. And here, I need to swivel a little bit. I can control that. It does the same thing that a ball head does, but it lets you do it one movement at a time. Now, the problem with this, it only goes back this far. So in case this one, yeah, only goes back 30 degrees. Now it will go 90 degrees in the other direction, but you have to mount your tripod plate on reverse, and it is just a little bit wonky to work with. So I tend not to use this at night, but if I am doing stuff, very particular stuff, like I like to play around and take architecture photos, I will use one of these because it is a lot nicer to just be able to move one axis at a time. Okay, last thing here, because you're going to say, okay, but what tripod do I buy? That all depends. It really depends on budgetary constraints and also what you like in a tripod. So I particularly like the twist locks, or not the twist locks, I like the flip locks as opposed to the twist locks. I don't like twist locks. They take too long, and you're not 100% sure if they're good, if they're actually tightened. So I don't like that. So I like mine with flip locks. I bought Manfrotto Tripod. It was my first tripod that I bought when I was in university and working at a camera shop. It was the best brand that we had, and I saved up and bought Manfrotto. Because of that, I still use Manfrotto. Manfrotto has a proprietary tripod plate, quick release plate. A lot of places use an Arca Swiss dovetail, which is great because they're interchangeable. Manfrotto doesn't, but I've had Manfrotto now for 15 years. And so I use Manfrotto, and it works really great. Two other really great brands, Really Right Stuff and Gitzo. All really solid brands. They will cost you more money. They are a higher tier, but you buy it now and you don't have to buy it again if you take care of your gear. If you want to look a little bit more in depth, there is a website called The Center Column, and they go in and they go crazy in depth into tripods. And you can do that. The one thing that I want to caution you on is you can research until your eyes bleed and still be confused. Often, the tripod, as long as it's sturdy enough, as long as your ball head is going to handle the payload, that's pretty much it. Outside of that, there's lots of other little features and things that are useful, but really when it comes down to it, you want something that's a good brand, that will stand up over time, and that will carry the weight of the gear that you have and be flexible in the ways that you need it to be. So maybe a three-way pan and tilt is better, maybe a ball head is better. It's completely up to you. Okay. That's it. That's tripods. Super important. I hope that this was helpful for you. Please drop any comments if you have any questions, and if you have any feedback. Thank you so much, everyone.